Welcome to another episode of the weekly UAS news. And this week we've got a lot of information to talk about in terms of the FAA. The FAA has published a new advisory circular, 9157B, Bravo, and we're going to talk about this. The FAA also updated its list of drone webinars series. They've been doing the series for a while and they've added quite a few of them and they've updated them, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the fire danger. There's a lot of fires going on right now and what you should be doing and should not be doing and what's been in the news, which is not good. And then finally, we'll talk about the law enforcement video that the FAA released, and there's a bit of controversy about it. So stick around, we'll talk about these. So let's get started with the new advisory circular 9157 Bravo that the FAA just released. Now, this is to go in conjunction with the recent changes that the FAA has made with the recreational pilots law that we've seen in late May 2019. Now, I made a whole entire video just about this, so be sure to click on the link and go and check that video. I think it's over 10 minutes long, and it explains everything that the FAA has changed to hobbyists and recreational pilots. So now that document, 9157 Bravo, reflects all the changes that we discussed in that video. So there's nothing new, but this document is out there. Now, we will talk actually, Sarah is going to be here back next week, and we're going to be talking about the difference between advisory circulars, between what a section, you've heard section 349, section 336, and then what actually a part of the Federal Code of Regulation is and how the difference between all these is. So stay posted for that video. We're going to be doing this next week with Sarah. Now, what's important in here to remember is that as a hobbyist at the moment, you cannot fly in controlled airspace unless there is an AMA approved field or a CBO approved field, I should say, near the airport that you can go and fly to. Now, in most cases, there's going to be fees involved with doing this. You're going to have to be a member, but the FAA has promised that LAANC, the capability to get approval in controlled airspace, will be available to hobbyists in the summer. Now, summer is right around the corner, and this could be early summer or late summer. Now, we'll talk about the webinars. They are actually supposed to announce something about LAANC in one of those webinars, so I don't know if this is what they're going to announce, but I hope it is. I hope it is coming for hobbyists, because right now, basically, you're stuck flying away from controlled airspace unless you're a remote pilot. What I want to know in the comments is please tell me how this has affected you so far, or do you live close to a controlled airspace and are you a hobbyist and you can't fly anymore? Did this force you to go into your Part 107 and get your Part 107 certificate? Now, I know some people in my course that I teach have said that they were hobbyists, they have no plans of becoming a Part 107, and they actually did the course because now this was forcing them to do it. So. The FAA also discussed that there's going to be an exam supposed to be taken online. So tell me your thoughts about this in the comment section. I want to hear what you think the exam should look like, and if you think the exam is going to be easy. I think personally it is kind of a good thing. It's good to educate people, make sure that they understand what's going on, what is going on around them. We share the airspace with other people, so I'm biased. I have a course available for people to take, and I already do this. I already teach them what they should be doing properly in order to fly without having the FAA to take an exam. So with that being said, let's talk about the next thing with the FAA, which is the fact that they've updated their list of drone webinars in the drone webinar series. And this is good. These webinars are great. They're a great way to get information, and what you find out of them is information about which airspace you're in, what you should be doing and should not be doing in order to fly. So you see the list. On June 27th, they're going to be talking about recreational flyers and how you should be paying attention to the new rules. So this is going to be a good webinar that I think if you're not familiar with the rules and if my videos did not explain all the data, then you should go ahead and watch this. On June 18, they're going to be talking about LAANC, the Low Altitude Authorization and Notification Capability. I hope this is where they will announce that LAANC is going live for hobbyists. Now, this is just me making it up. I have zero data saying that this is going to happen, but July 18 is kind of right around the corner in about a month. So, and then in August, they're going to teach you how to navigate the UAS facility map. Now, I also have a video available on this. I teach this in every single one of my courses. This is an important skill to have. The UAS facility map has a lot of great information in it, and you should know how to use it. And the same thing with the FAA drone zone. In the FAA drone zone, if your airport that you fly at is not part of LAANC, which some airports still are not part of LAANC, then you should be going to the FAA drone zone to request approval. Now, we still don't know how this is going to work for hobbyists because the FAA hasn't released any information, but I'm going to guess that it's going to be the same as it is for commercial operators, for remote pilots, and where you're basically just going to go and request a period of time where you want to fly, and then the FAA will approve it. If you've been in one of those FAA webinars, please go ahead and leave a note in the comment section and tell us what you thought about it. I've seen a couple and I think they're great. I think it's great that the FAA is taking on this educational role to help pilots basically be safer out there. Instead of just issuing tickets and citations, they are actually helping to make the airspace safer, which I think is a good approach. The next segment I want to talk about is fires. Forest fires are in full force right now, and they're going to be for the entire summer. Remember to stay away from firefighting activities. And the reason I'm talking about this in the news is because there's a fire going on right now, actually not very far from where I live in Arizona, in the Coconino National Forest. And it's called the Coldwater Fire. There's actually 4 big fires going on just right now. And that basically resulted in the grounding of the entire fleet of firefighting. So aircraft. So this is not a good situation. Anytime there's going to be a drone spotted in the area, they are going to stop operation. And yes, they should. I know I hear people online saying, well, drones don't really do damage to aircraft. This is incorrect. The last thing that these guys have to worry about is having to look for a drone and having to go around a drone. They're flying at a very low altitude with a plane full of chemical in the back, and they just don't need this kind of additional problems to be facing. So there is a list. There's always a TFR, temporary flight restriction, in place when this is going on. Stay away from TFRs. It's very simple. Here's a map right here that is currently showing you the different sites, and you can actually go on this website, which is not the official source, but it is a good way to get the information. This is skyvector.com, and those of you that are in my course know how to use Skyvector because I use it a lot, and Skyvector will show you a list of TFRs. Now remember, TFRs, temporary flight restrictions, can pop at any time, which means that you need to be ready to take the airplane down, take the drone down if anything happens and a TFR pops up where you are. Just because you're in the middle of the forest doesn't mean that you're safe. There could still be a TFR because a couple miles away there is a big fire that aircraft are trying to put down. So stay away from any firefighting efforts. As a matter of fact, stay away from any kind of emergency situation where there could be helicopters or airplane flying at low altitude. Yes, again, the drones will damage an aircraft if it hits it, which is not something that we want to be in the news for. And you will be arrested, by the way, if they find you out. 2 years ago here in Prescott, there was a guy flying when there was a big fire. They had to ground the entire fleet, and that fire was pretty close to town. And the grounding of the fleet could have cost people's houses, pets, horses, everything that's around, just because somebody decided they want to fly their drone. They caught the guy and put him in jail for a while, and this is not a situation where that you want to be put in. Just if you want to see footage of this stuff, just wait for the news helicopter to be flying from a distance and flying legally to give you those images. The last thing I want to talk about today is that the FAA released a video to help law enforcement know their authority when it comes to drone safety. Now, I applaud the FAA for wanting to do this. This is good. We need to educate law enforcement on what they can and can't do and what they should be doing in order to ensure that everybody's flying safely. But this video has quite a few issues with it. And the first thing that it's doing is it's asking law enforcement officers to take action, and if something happens, and then gather information and report it to the FAA. Now, I'm okay with that part. I don't have a problem with that. Now, the problem is that it's got a bunch of inconsistencies in the video. And the first one is that it states that drones cannot fly at night, which is incorrect for hobbyists. At this stage, under Part 101, which really doesn't exist anymore, but under 349 and the new advisory circular, there's no mention of no flying at night. So drone hobbyists are still allowed to fly at night, and remote pilots are still allowed to fly at night with a waiver, which the video does mention. The second thing is it's generalizing the fact that you cannot fly around airports, which is incorrect. As we know, remote pilots can fly around airports with the proper approval with LAANC authorization. So I think there's a bit of fear mongering in this video, and I don't really care for that. And then the last thing is the FAA, and I think this is kind of the most laughable part of the video, unfortunately, is that they're talking about peeping Tom with drones, which is the one thing that people are afraid of. Now, I've talked about this in other videos. You know, if you're going to be peeping on anyone with a drone, you're going to have to be right next to their face, which at that point, you're not peeping anything. You're better off, if you're into this kind of stupid stuff, just having a pair of binoculars and be hiding in a tree, and you'll get much better footage than coming close with a drone. Everybody's going to hear it, everybody's going to see it, and it just doesn't make any sense. So the FAA decided to go that route and tell law enforcement officers that if there's a drone flying over houses, then basically they can go ahead and arrest that person, which is just absurd in a way, because now you have the person doing any kind of real estate videos of photos that can be arrested because the neighbors saw a drone and they think that you're a peeping Tom. So again, watch the video. I'm going to put a link in the comments. Tell me what you think about the video. I know I've seen the comments on the FAA page. I've seen the comments from a bunch of people on Facebook, and I have to agree. I think the FAA missed the mark right here, and they could have done a much better job with this video, trying to educate law enforcement officers, which again, I think the idea initially is a good one. This is it. This is all I have for today. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'm doing these videos every week on Friday, trying to give you the latest of what happened the entire week. And the count is going up. Actually, I'm getting a lot of subscribers, which is telling me you guys are liking the videos, which is encouraging. I'll be doing more. I want to release one video every week that kind of talks about some educational aspect of remote pilots and drones in general. So follow these, and hopefully you get some good information out of it. Have a good weekend.